Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Liam Crafton Jr., aka Zoralchan Less Than Guru, and today I would like to talk about the Beastmaster, which falls into my Intuit category. So, as I said in the last episode, that the Intuits are those whose abilities, mystical abilities, come from within. So, it's just something naturally that comes to them. They don't need to study like the academics to gain their mystical abilities. They do not have to get their power from a higher power, such as my clergy. So these are all ones that have mystical abilities, but they come from within themselves and they manifest in various ways. So the Beastmaster are born attuned to nature. And unlike druids, which are a clergy, they get their powers and abilities by worshiping nature, or in my game, the nature deity Adrethin. Beastmasters just inherently have mystical aptitude towards nature and animals, not towards species, sentient beings like humans and other of the species in my game. So let's dig into them. This is very heavily based off of the Yin-Sloth Jungle Beastmaster with some tweaks. So attribute requirements are the same as as they were in Yin-Sloth Jungle. You can be any alignment for that. Physical conditioning is a 4. The high end is 8, Men of Arms. At the low end is Academics. So Beastmaster, just by being out in nature and dealing with things that way, has some physical conditioning, but they're not necessarily born fighters or aggressive. You don't have to be a Beastmaster. So that's why their physical conditioning is a 4. Armor tier is 3. They're not armor needing to wear, and be trained in armor is not a necessity for the Beastmaster, so they're at tier 3. And the restrictions are they cannot come from another Intuit occupation or go into an Intuit occupation, because once you develop your natural abilities, once they express themselves, then that's what you are. You can't express them in a different way in my mythology of my world. So let's look at the level chart. Mars Video Cat is here. At level 1, that's where you get your base skills, like in any Palladium game. At level 2, you get Familiar Link, which is about the same as it is in the Yin-Sloth Jungle book. 3 and 4 is where you get your additional skills. 5, you can get an additional familiar if you wish. 6, you get a shock point. You are out in nature. You become a little more hardier, so that's where they get their shock point. Then they can get an additional familiar at level 7. Level 8, they get some more skills. 9, a familiar. 10, they can get more secondary skills, a familiar, skills, and then a couple of additional shock points at the end. So that's their level chart. Elective skills and secondary skills, same as in Palladium First Edition. The elective skills, this is the list of skills you are allowed to take. Secondary skills, you can take any skills. These are the skills that give you bonuses. So let's look at the abilities. Animal resurrection. So the Beastmaster can breathe life back into any animal, including familiars that have been dead for less than 8 hours and not decapitated. Fundamentally, it's the same as the magic spell, resurrection, or the clergy ability. This powerful magic can be done once per day, 24-hour period, and it has a success of 18% plus 6% per additional level of experience. And so you start off at 18, and then at level 2, you get a plus 6%. And it is specifically animals, so it would not work on the sentient species, player character species, or magical folk or beasts or things like that. They do get also animal telepathy. They can communicate with any animal through mental telepathy. This ability only is communication, not control. So they can talk, but depending on the attitude of the animal, The animal might not want to talk or still not like you, still attack you, but it does give a telepathy, and then it has the success there, and it can be made up to 2 animals per level at the same time. So if you have a group of animals, as you gain higher levels, you can talk to everybody, have a group chat. Cure disease. The touch has a chance to cure an animal of disease and ailments up to the level of the Beastmaster. That's one of the things I introduced is poisons and ailments and stuff have a level. So a lot of times curing those ailments, you have to have a level or greater to cure what that level is. And that's just an easy way to determine difficult diseases to cure and easier diseases and ailments to cure. Healing touch. This is an animal only also ability. Most of their abilities, or all of their abilities, are animal only. This ability can use every other round, so very much like um, a priest or cleric, a clergy member that has the healing touch for sentient beings. They have one for animals, and this ability restores a D8 hit points or shock points plus 2 times your level. So if you're level 2, you would roll the D8 and then you would add 4 to it. It's not quite based off of heal base like for my player characters. And then they are impervious to poison, venom, disease, and allergies. So the character just doesn't have to worry about that. Part of their natural inherent powers is natural diseases and ailments, and that allergies just do not affect them. And then we have the familiar link, which again you get at 2nd, 5th, 7th, and 11th level. It's different than druids, rangers, wizard spells because they can gain multiple familiars through the same familiar link. So how I have it in my game is, say a wizard has familiar link, they could link up to an animal, and if they have greater familiar, they can get something from that. And basically, you need a separate power to be able to get multiple familiars, but you could. This one power allows the multiple familiars, so that is something that is different. Um, each familiar regards everybody else as a friend, part of the family. So if you have a mouse and a cat, they're going to consider each other family. It's not going to be a predator prey type thing. And it provides the Beastmaster with +3 hit points per familiar. That was one thing that I think I might have changed or tweaked a bit from the Yin-Sloth Jungle, because normally a normal familiar will give 6 hit points. And that would just mean you get a ton more hit points for it. So I kind of, since you're getting more, I kind of condensed or lessened the amount of hit points that are given per. But in additional, the animal gets an additional 2 hit points and shock points +1 to natural damage per Beastmaster level. And this is a way to kind of level up your familiars as you level up, because unlike a wizard who the familiar is an extension of themselves, but they themselves have a lot of stuff, for a Beastmaster, their familiars are kind of part of the occupation. It's part of their character class. So that way they can level up, and they can get a +1 in natural damage per level. So your familiar's damage becomes more effective as you level up. And this has the familiar maybe up to 50 pounds per Beastmaster level. So if at level 2, you could get up to a 100-pound animal when you get your first familiar link. If you want to wait and link later, then you can wait until you get higher level and get something really big. And that's how I allow, because I like the idea of being able to get, say, a tiger, or bear, or something big, but I didn't want a first level character to have necessarily something that was better than the entire party. And when I originally played Palladium, I had a Beastmaster that started off with like a rhinoceros just because it was so deadly. And at first level, it was very imbalancing. So that's one of the things where I take something that I played and over the years realized that, yeah, that's probably not something that's always fun to introduce. And again, everybody in every group has their own dynamics and stuff. This is just something that I felt for my type of world and the game that I am doing now, a limitation that I wanted to place on it. Um, it doesn't extend the lifespan to the animal, and the Beastmaster may choose to cancel that link. So, say they have an animal companion, a familiar, and that familiar gets to the end of its lifespan. If the Beastmaster wishes to sever the link and allow the animal to die naturally, not associated with it, that's a thing, as well as familiar death across the board usually uh, give a detriment. Lose X many hit points permanently. So not just that you took damage now and you can heal it back, but it affects you so much it actually physically hurts you. So that might be a choice. If it's getting at the end of its life, you're going to be hurt if that animal dies connected to you, so you can stop the link. Um, but it does take a wind down, so I have it take an hour per level of the bond. That's so that if your animal companion is dying and it's going to die, and say it's going to die this round, and you've already used healing touch and you can't bring it back, or you're so low you don't think your resurrection's going to work on it. It doesn't allow you to just cancel the link and get out of that situation for free, in quotes. So um, the Beastmaster then would lose 4 permanently. They gain 3 per familiar, but they will lose 4. So there's a negative 1 permanent loss. What I also did is, when I was very recently data entering all my natural animals as well as mystical animals, and I have mystical animals, I have fey animals and things like that, I decided that I really like the idea of allowing those to be familiars, but they're usually a little more powerful, have little special abilities and things like that. So if you give up 2 of your normal familiar, your natural animal familiar slots, you could gain, say, a griffin or another mystical animal, or a fey animal, and I have them broken up in what they are. So if it says animal and it's not a natural animal, then you can give up 2 of those slots and get something kind of neat um, for that. So that is what that aspect of is. They can use their familiar, and since a lot of those mystical animals do tend to weigh more, then you get 100 pounds per level, because it's kind of the 50 and 50. If you had 2 natural animals at second level, or I guess you would have to wait until fifth level, so 250 each. So instead of having 2 at 250, if you waited for your first slot, you could have 1 at 500. So you get 1, but it could be much more potent. But again, then you don't have 2, so it's the 1 versus multiple, and that's something that each player can determine. And so that's kind of my Beastmaster. They don't have to worry about, they're the one that doesn't have to worry about ISP, because my Intuits use ISP, inner strength point, power coming from within. But they get mystical abilities with the animal. And then the last thing was, just because this information took a while to get, my picture is on the next page. So that's a Beastmaster with a wolf and a gorilla as familiars. So that is my Beastmaster occupation. Having said that, once again, I'm Lee McCrafton Jr., aka Zorval John Less Than Guru, and until next time, I will catch you later.